What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Baumbastic podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Ellis. I come here with Inside Arkansas, and I am so happy to be back. Boy, that intro sounds great. I missed hearing it. I missed not seeing all of you guys because I can't see you, but I miss interacting with all of you. Missed this platform, frankly, and I'm happy to be back. Before we get going, I do just want to address the, elephant in the room. You may be noticing this video is a little bit shorter than you're typically used to seeing from the Baumbastic podcast. I want to switch up the format just a little bit with how we do things for this show moving forward as we get closer to the season. I want to show you guys a lot more smaller videos like this that are focused on one specific topic, which means you will see more. There will be more of these videos throughout the week, kind of similar to what Curtis had going on with his daily mailbag for basketball. I don't know if you guys tapped in with that, but a lot of you did. I know we're leading up to the season. He was basically fielding questions all day, doing specific videos on specific subjects. So there was nothing about this Arkansas basketball program that he did not cover, he did not talk about. I want to do kind of the same thing. So I also want to open it up to you guys. So if you want to hear me talk about something, you are curious about a player or Nate Thompson or Dave Van Horn or whatever it is, there's a specific subject you want to know about, drop a comment below, tweet at me at Ellis Andrew with an underscore if you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, pull up at my house, knock on my door, whatever you got to do. I want to hear from you guys, and I want to talk about the topics that are relevant. And so with this format, I feel like I'm going to be able to dive into a little bit more. And of course, will it be daily? Will it be 3 times a week? We'll just kind of play it by ear and see. And I also want to clarify, there will still be the live chat episodes. I still want to do that, especially during the season when we're doing, previewing the series for each weekend and, when big news breaks and stuff like that. So there will still be me going live and fielding questions from all of you there in that format. But again, like I said, I want the show to be a little bit more structured. And so you're going to see a lot more of these kind of videos that are, 10, 12, 15 minutes that really dive in on a specific topic. And for our first topic today, of course, as you can tell by the title and this little graphic here, I want to talk about the Arkansas outfield. So we'll just jump right into it. Arkansas's got a little bit of a conundrum in the outfield, or a logjam, if you will. And I feel like it's one of those things that not everyone's talking about. And of course, we're going to continue to dive into the entire lineup, and we'll end up, previewing the full thing and telling you what to expect from each position. But I feel like the outfield is one that is overlooked a lot. And Arkansas, frankly, I know a lot of people were disappointed with their outfield and felt like, Arkansas needed to address that in the transfer portal, which honestly, I feel like they did in a very big way. I think Arkansas's outfield is going to be much improved, especially on the offensive end. But again, there's a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a problem because you've got 4 guys basically vying for 3 spots here, but Kendall Diggs is kind of the big X factor. And it's weird to say he's an X factor considering he's one of the most proven players on the team, one of your returning guys, a returning captain who you feel like you can count on. But I feel like what happens with Kendall Diggs affects the entire lineup. Because look, Kendall Diggs is recovering from his, I believe it was a labrum surgery on his shoulder, some type of weird thing similar to what Peyton Stovall had the year before. And look, he did not play in the fall. We did not get to look at him in the fall. All indications are that he's healthy, trending in the right direction, should be ready for the start of the season. Hopefully we'll get to see him play a little bit here in the spring as we're leading up to the season. We call it the spring, but it's like January and mid-February. So we'll see how he's at, if he's able to throw, how he's moving around. But if he's able to play and be healthy and play in right field, it probably bumps one of these other guys out there in that situation out of the outfield. And just so, so we're all on the same page here, I'm referencing Charles Davalon, the French-Canadian from Florida Gulf Coast, Logan Maxwell, the TCU transfer, and Roco Pepe, who's coming from Fresno State as well as Long Beach State. I feel like those 3 guys are guys that you should probably expect to be in the everyday lineup if they're healthy and they're producing at the level that, they have for their careers and that they're projected to do for Arkansas. So again, the Kendall Diggs aspect of it changes a lot, because if Kendall Diggs isn't, say he's able to hit, but he's not able to play the field, then you're probably looking at him at DH, which is something that he did pretty much full time in 2023. I know he DH'd a little bit as a freshman in 2022. Might have even seen some time there at DH last year, but I know that it was a big thing that they wanted him to do, was prove that he could play the field. They felt like that would improve his draft status, which the thing they forgot about there is if you're not healthy, it's going to affect your draft status. And so, I think last year it was a big point of emphasis that Kendall wanted to get out there, wanted to play the field. And by the way, I should clarify, in 2023, there were so many injuries. Diggs ended up playing a little bit of left field, a little bit of right field, started plenty of games in the outfield as he kind of made that transition. Because remember, this is a guy that was an infielder when he came to Arkansas. And frankly, I feel like Kendall handled that transition pretty well. I feel like he made consistent strides. And by the end of last year, I felt like he was a pretty solid, if not an above average defender out there in right field. And again, I'm not really worried about Arkansas's outfield defense. I wouldn't say it's going to be like next level, three center fielders at all three spots or whatever. Because Logan Maxwell, I wouldn't say he's necessarily like a game changing defender or anything as well. So if it's him out there or it's Kendall Diggs out there, again, it's not like you're going to have like the best outfield of all time, but it's also not something I'm worried about. I'm just kind of interested to see how it plays out. Again, if Kendall is healthy and he's fully ready to go, I have no reason to believe at this moment that you wouldn't see him out there in right field or left field or whatever it is. I have no doubt that he should be and will be in the everyday lineup. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that are probably watching. They're like, well, I watched Kendall Diggs last year and he sucked. He hit 229. His home runs dropped from 12 to 7. He clearly wasn't the same guy as a junior in 2024. I would also just remind you that he had a very serious injury that he was playing through. And after the season, they found out it was a very serious injury. And again, we just saw the same situation play out with Peyton Stovall, who in 2023 played through a shoulder injury. All of his stats dipped across the board. Everyone was like, wow, this guy sucks. What's wrong with him? Like, I don't know. Is he even a lock to start or what's going on? He gets that cleaned up. He comes back as a junior, has an awesome year, gets drafted in the top 75. Like, it's, I'm not saying that exactly is going to play out with Kendall Diggs, but I think we would be stupid to think that last year the injury didn't affect him in a very big way. And look, you can make the argument they should have taken him out of the lineup since he was hurt. All that's fine and dandy. I'm not even going to disagree with that. All I'm saying is moving forward into 2025, I think he's a guy that you should expect to maybe get back to what he was as a sophomore, which is a guy that hit 299, 12 home runs, 63 RBI. A guy that you can throw at the top of the lineup, the middle of the lineup, can give you a spark at the bottom, whatever. Again, this is a dude who was a captain last year. So, look, I think Kendall Diggs is a lock to be in the lineup, and I think he should be. I think he's a very important piece for this team, whether it's at DH, whether it's at right field, whether they want to get crazy and play him at first base. I really don't know, but I think what they do with Kendall Diggs kind of impacts the rest of the roster. And so just going on down the line a little bit, I want to talk about some of these other outfielders real quick. The first guy I want to talk about is Charles Davalon. As you see right here, he is talking to Nate Thompson. Everyone looks small next to Nate Thompson. It's hard to look big next to Nate Thompson. And Charles Davalon's not a massive guy. There he is also stealing a base and being very excited about it. That actually might have been him stretching a single into a double, if I remember correctly. But that's just my nerd brain there. But Charles Davalon is a guy that transferred from FGCU, had a really, really solid freshman year, hit 288, 10 home runs, 13 stolen bases, had 16 doubles as well. Drew a ton of walks. His slash was 288, 413, 514. And I feel like that's about as well-rounded and solid as you're going to find. Obviously, he's going to be facing SEC competition. So you expect, those numbers will fluctuate a little bit. But he's a guy who hit 300 in the fall, showed off some nice power as well. I feel like he's another lock for the lineup. And I would even go as far as to say he's a lock for a specific position at center field. I just don't see anything other than that happening unless he is hurt. And he's a guy, he reminds me a lot of Robert Moore from a frame perspective and kind of an athleticism perspective. Obviously, Robert Moore was a second baseman, different players. Robert Moore's a switch hitter. Davalon's a left-handed hitter. Like there's some differences there. But I think just from a frame, when I look at him, he kind of looks Robert Moore to me. And again, I'm a big believer in this guy's upside and his skill set. Very well-rounded. There's not a ton of weaknesses in this game. He doesn't strike out a ton. He draws his walks. He's got some power. He'll hit his doubles. He can hit for average as well, hit just under 300, hit 300 for Arkansas this fall against some legitimate SEC arms. I feel like he is a lock to play center field. And I feel like, again, when we're talking about variables and who goes where, and all right, we move this guy here, we move that guy there, all this moving around, I don't think it's going to impact Charles Davalon. I feel like he is a lock for center field, like I've said 12 times here now. And now moving on down the chart a little bit, Logan Maxwell is another one who's a little bit more of an X factor. Now, Logan Maxwell, who you'll see here, there he is, after hitting a home run. I believe that was an Oppo home run he hit in the Oklahoma State Exhibition Series. Logan Maxwell's another guy who very proven. should probably be considered a lock for the lineup. I mean, he hit 300 in 2023, hit 335 in 2024, increased his walk rate, lowered his strikeout rate, hit for a little bit more power. I mean, dude, that's got 110 games of experience. Also had a really nice fall down the stretch and really turned it on at the end of fall, hit 351, showed off some pop, hit, I believe, 3 home runs for the entire fall, which is matches his total from the year before at TCU. So a guy that is proven, reliable, experienced, hits for a high average. He's going to get on base. He's going to take his walks. We'll see if the power increases a little bit. He has 5 home runs in his career. So it's a number you would like to see go up. But worst case scenario, you're looking at a guy that's just going to be a high average, get on base guy. Again, is he a lock for the lineup? Probably. But he's one where it might be a little bit, more questionable in terms of where he goes. If my memory serves me correctly, he DH'd primarily at TCU last year. So if he ends up being Arkansas's DH, it's the same role he had at TCU. Like he can do it no problem. And it's just there, it wouldn't be without precedent, I guess is what I'm saying. So again, if Kendall Diggs is healthy, you just bump on Logan Maxwell down there. Perfectly fine. I don't think there would be any issue there. He can play left field. He can play right field, whatever they need. So again, it's not a huge deal who they go with what direction, but I feel like it kind of impacts the rest of the lineup because if you have Kendall Diggs DHing or you have Logan Maxwell DHing, Arkansas's got a little bit of a battle there at first base between guys like Reese Robinette, Michael Anderson, Kihio Aloy. All 3 of those guys could play first base, but they're also candidates to DH as well. And you might be looking at a little bit of a platoon situation. Diggs and Maxwell both are left-handed bats. And Kihio Aloy and Michael Anderson are right-handed bats. So, I mean, you can kind of already start talking yourself into what that might look like. But again, I'm just interested to see how this all plays out and where these guys end up. And now last but definitely not least is my guy Roco Pepe, who I've been raving about Roco Pepe for a long time. Couldn't find a picture of him in actually playing this fall because he only played in about 4 or 5 games. But there he is slapping Reese Robinette, big country on the ass, just guys being dudes, stuff you love to see. There he is, number 1, Roco Pepe. Now, this is another guy who, again, if you just look at his resume and what he's accomplished in his college career, probably a surefire lineup spot. Probably a guy who deserves to be viewed as a lock for the lineup. Hit 327 last year with 14 home runs at Fresno. He's a 309 career hitter with 145 games of experience. Again, not at the SEC level, but a guy who's played college baseball, knows what it's like. And again, had a really nice fall. He only played in a handful of games, went 7 for 12, hit a couple home runs, had a triple, had a double, showed everything you would want him to show in a very small sample size. Roco Pepe's another one that I really like. And I feel like he's a plus defender as well, like a solid corner outfield defender. He makes a lot of sense for left field, if you ask me. Again, now he was banged up in the fall, so he's going to have to prove that he's healthy as well. But again, I come back to if all these guys are healthy and all these guys are kind of hitting the way that they should and the way that they have for their careers. I mean, all these guys I'm talking about, you read off the resumes, they're guys you would expect to produce at a pretty high level offensively. If they're all healthy, Arkansas's got a little bit of an issue in the outfield of like, you've got 3 spots and you've got 4 guys qualifying for those 3 spots. And I haven't even mentioned the freshman Brenton Clark, who was freaking phenomenal this fall, really kind of forced his way into this conversation to the point where I was like, hey, they might have to start this kid. And he actually did get a start in one of those Oklahoma State games as well. Justin Thomas is another one. A guy, a transfer from Florida Southwest JUCO. He started his career at Georgia. He started to come on towards the end of the fall and make some noise as well. So it's like, again, Arkansas's got a lot of outfielders and 3 spots to work with. So again, it's going to be fascinating to kind of see how this whole thing plays out, who ends up where. And I think Kendall Diggs' health is a very big X factor in this conversation, as well as Roco Pepe. I mean, he was banged up for a long time throughout the fall. We'd like to see that he can prove that he can be healthy and all that. But again, I'm really bullish and optimistic. I think Arkansas did a very good job improving what they had in the outfield. Again, I just don't know exactly how it's going to play out. If I were to make a prediction today, I would say that Logan Maxwell ends up DHing. Pepe plays left field. Davalon plays center field. Diggs plays right field. That is very much subject to change. But let me know what you guys think. I'd be very interested to see who you kind of want to see at each position. If you think I'm crazy and you think, hey, Kendall Diggs sucks, get him out of the lineup, let's put in this freshman or whatever the case may be. Again, I want to hear from you guys. And don't forget, I want to continue fielding whatever questions you guys have. I want to continue talking about this Arkansas baseball team, this roster, this lineup, this pitching staff, this coaching staff, whatever it is you guys want to discuss. So hit me up in the comments below, reach out to me on Twitter, whatever it is. That has been today's edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I will be back at least one more time this week, probably twice this week. Look forward to talking to you guys again. Again, let me know what you want to talk about. This has been a brilliant return edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I'm Andrew Ellis. I will see you guys later.